State of the Necromancer. Let's talk. Minions got buffed in Season 4, and finally it felt like, yes, we're powerful. We're back. This is where the Necromancer should be. This is how it should work. Minions should make everything better. And they do. The Golem build, the only Shadow Mages, throwing Blight together with your Skeletons. Hell, even Bonespear Skeleton is somewhat viable. And even the non-minion builds are popping off. Like the Bone Spirit absolutely going for billions of damage. Now that is all fantastic, but Necromancer is still having quite some issues. And if you need a break from the dungeon grind, how about Watcher of Realms? They are sponsoring today's video and get their 1-year anniversary coming up, which will level up the game in a big way. And it's not only available on phone, they get a PC native version you can just download. What's so exciting with the first year anniversary though? 2 new heroes are coming and they're intertwined. Talking about the Dragon Lady Anara and, excuse my French, the Dragon Imerit? They're a famous, powerful duo, and you might just want to have them for their aesthetics alone. And no worries about having to get the credit card out really quick. Nah, you can get some of the most powerful heroes by just simply daily logging in, doing your quests, and they'll be handed to you. When you think you're strong enough, you can challenge various modes such as guild bosses and the Immortal Codex. One of the new game modes will be called the Tower of Celebration. In this game mode, you need to consider team formations carefully and apply strategies to conquer the bosses. You may need to develop numerous strategies to rank high in the scoreboards. But if you do so, there's quite some rewards waiting for you. In total, during the first anniversary event, there will be at least 34 summoning crystals just throughout daily logins available, plus 2 new legendary heroes and free skins are waiting for you from various events. Watcher of Realms is holding a website event where you can get Amazon cards and huge in-game rewards. Download Watcher of Realms today, link is in the description below, and enjoy your adventures through TIA. Minor ones are Paragon Nodes being completely useless, like Skeletal Warrior Armor. What for? They get your armor, they are maxed armored. Or Minion Resistance to all elements. Well, your minions have your resistance, so they're resistanced out. And the same to the Minion Maximum Life and Armor node down here. What for? They have your maximum life in your max. They don't die. All of this kind of still needs a rework to fit in the new reality. The biggest issue is and stays in this area here. We have Blood Mist, Corpse Explosion, and Bone Prison. Now, Bone Prison is actually being used in this build, but Necro does not have a single defensive tool. Now you're going to say, hold on, wait. You have Blood Mist, you're invulnerable. That is true, and I can essentially use that to prevent damage from being taken as it would be coming, but I cannot do anything to negate damage being dealt to me, being backstabbed by some invisible dudes, or just randomly having fire pop up below me and sometimes just get hit because visual clutter. Now let's compare this to the 2 other casters. Sork, by the way, being at around 20,000 HP right now. You have Flame Shield, which obviously makes you kind of immune to damage. But then on top, you do actually have Ice Armor, and Ice Armor can be made to have such a low cooldown that I'm essentially regenerating mana and even chilling and damaging my opponents, but I'm continuously having an amount of barrier up. That barrier is supplemented by even more barrier, and it's kind of keeping the Sork alive, right? Nice. You can preemptively use all of this to essentially soak up all the damage. And worst case scenario as a druid, you do have your Earthen Bulwark, which surrounds you with a huge amount of barrier, or Cyclonic Armor, providing you with damage reduction and an active knockback, so even 2 defensive skills to keep people away from you. Well, again, as the Necro, I can Blood Mist in or out to essentially avoid everything, but as soon as I get out of this and everyone focus me, I'll just instantly die and vaporize. Now, we do have Bone Prison, which can technically Bone Prison everyone in to keep them away from you, but that's not really a real barrier or a real defensive skill. Now, not everything is doom and gloom. Technically, we have Bonestorm, and Bonestorm even provides damage reduction, and on top of that, Supreme Bonestorm with a critical strike damage. The issue here right now is that in order for Bonestorm to be good, you need to at least play Bonestorm has a barrier now, right? The Shielding Storm to get the 6%. And that's not even working with max life. Yes, it's supposed to work with max life, but currently it still does not work with it. So it's not even as good as it could be. And then Bonestorm is only up for 10 seconds. So in order to get that even longer up, you either need to waste a precious temper on your weapon or throw out another aspect slot like Osseous Gale to prolong the duration even more. And that would be an offensive slot. The Necromancer offensive slots are so important you have none to waste for Osseous Gale. And technically, for Bonestorm to be really good on the damage reduction department, you actually need to turn it into ultimate shadows. Because if the Bonestorm is just the Bonestorm, he goes like 1-2 hit, 1-2 hit, 1-2 hit, 1-2 hit. And as soon as you're not in contact with the enemy anymore, you actually don't get barrier. While the aspect of ultimate shadows actually applies a shadow debuff on the enemy that lasts for 2 seconds. So even if you're not in contact with the enemy, the damage still ticks and this damage still barriers you up. So you kind of need 2 to 3 aspects to even basically get any kind of barrier going. That's a stinker. A second problem would be with the minions itself, because right now, what do we have in the mage department? We have shadow mages, cool. They can be boosted with shadow stuff. Then we have bone mages, and they're the physical damage mages. And now you would say, okay, that's bone, that's shadow. Surely we're going to have blood mages now, because our next prior, super good. I mean, bone, shadow, blood. Blood is physical too, but it's still blood and overpower. They're going to do something for that, surely. It's cold mages. Cold mages. Necromancer has 0 synergy with cold, unless you're playing the Bloodless Scream that's so gimmicky, no one is ever going to touch it. On top, you're going to be losing all your tempers for this as well. I mean, if this was doing 200 or 300% damage multiplier against frozen enemies, I mean, even then, keep it away from me. Same kind of goes for Golem, to be honest. You have a physical damage Golem, then you have a Blood Golem who's also physical, and then you have a Bone Golem who's also physical. Where's my Shadow Golem? And where's my, well, actual Blood Golem? I mean, it's okay he does physical damage, right? But maybe then the other physical damage Golem should be doing something else. They're not really fitting. They're more of a taunter, damage dealer, stunner than they follow any theme of everything else with the Necro. Same goes for the Skeletal Warriors, by the way. Sure, the Reapers are kind of like shadow because they interact with corpses, and the Defenders are defendy, and the Skirmishers are technically the offensive ones, but none of them is shadow, blood, and bone, kinda. They don't fit an actual theme. They're, well, universal, which would be good on the one side. But if you already have shadow and bone mages, where's the blood mages? That help you to overpower even more. Then let's take a deeper look at the 2 curses. We get Decrepify and Iron Maiden. Decrepify is kind of cool because it slows the enemy and gives you damage reduction. Damage reduction is always good. And then it gives you the lucky hit chance to actually stun someone and to reduce cooldowns. Wow, that's amazing. That seems useful for almost every single build. Let's look at Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden has the enemy take damage when they deal damage to you, okay? And it gives you essence, where most of the builds in Necro are essence-less. I mean, one single time when you curse, and then recurse after a while. Plus, heal for 7% of your maximum life with an enemy dice while afflicted with Iron Maiden. Then hard Iron Maiden, they take a bit more damage. Yikes. This is good for leveling, don't get me wrong. And maybe not every skill has to be good for the endgame. But we have a whole base of the tree here, and it's always you go down, you select bonus curse damage, and the Decrepify. The other, this is completely ignored. Mind me that there is actually no curse that kind of synergizes with your minions. Because technically the Decrepify currently only works because your minions are kind of 100% triggering the lucky hit. So it's technically not even a minion thing, right? I have to make sure that this triggers by using my abilities still. But I have no curse that interacts with my archetypes. I don't have a blood-related curse, kind of. This is Iron Maiden can be turned into Shadow, but I don't really Shadow Bone curse. Where's the theming happening that's technically happening in every single tree? Apart from in this tree, where you have Corpse Tendrils and Bone Spirit, and you're kind of missing a Blight skill? Hello? Interesting. Coming to the Ultimate Department. The Ultimate Department is kind of cool. I mean, we have seen Bonestorm and we have seen Army of the Dead. The only skill of these 3 that's good on itself is Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead will do quite some damage and will summon some corpses and even resummon your minions. Even if you're not using this in any kind of minion build, you could still summon a lot of corpses for the corpse explosion. So it's kind of good in its own right. The Bonestorm needs to at least have the aspect of the barrier and the aspect of the Ultimate Storm to mostly be considered viable. And let's not start on the Blood Wave, which does in its base form. This one is a 10-second spell that surrounds you with damage reduction and so on. This does a nuke, resummons your minions, and spawns a lot of corpses. And this one spawns 1 single Blood Wave that slows the enemy and makes 3 Blood Orbs. That's not an ultimate skill. The Blood Wave should be here, next to the Corpse Tendrils, as a mastery skill like Bone Spirit. And it should probably cost a hefty amount of essence, like 50 or 60 maybe. But it is certainly not an ultimate skill. By no means is it that. It could be Blood Rage down here, where you essentially go into an absolute vampiric crazed Blood Rage and get some bonus healing or whatsoever, so you can actually make use of your Rathamus Vigor in any form. But yeah, That here is the biggest joke ever. And again, in order to consider this good, you need at least the title aspect for the triple blood wave. And if you now use the ultimate shadows, you would technically get a super triple desecrated ground stacking blood wave, but that triple desecrated ground stacking blood wave, it actually doesn't stack. It doesn't. It's kind of bad. Now to the key passives, and the key passives are an interesting bunch. The Shadow Blight is absolutely mental, like stacking up, going for the 240% damage multiplier, super good. Then you have the Ossified Essence, which multiplies all your bone damage the more essence you have. What a nice archetype and fun. Now, technically, Erasmus Vigor is good. We'll get to why it's actually sat still. It gives you free overpowers, and it has a second portion we'll talk about. And lastly, you have Kellen's Edict, which get buffed that you now get more attack speed for each active minion. But you do actually reach that attack speed with every other mean later on, so that you can not play the minion key passive and move on to, well, Shadow Blight again. So we're having a key passive for the main minion build, and not a single build is playing it. That's sad. Kellen's Edict should, in my opinion, give me more minions. It's the minion key passive that's meant to work. It should be a no-brainer. I am playing minions. I should use the minion key passive. I'm playing Bone, I'm playing Blood, I'm playing Shadow. Each of them should be an absolute no-brainer to be played, correct? And that should be the same for when it comes down to summons. I mean, if you give me another 2 mages and 2 warriors and +1 golem or whatsoever, you cannot take this over the Shadow Blight, right? Even if the Shadow Blight gives you that 240 multiplier bonus, you're getting more summons and it's going crazier. And then it's its own archetype. You could still mix and match if you choose to, don't you worry. Absolutely. But keep in mind that a key passive should be so good that you really do want to take it. And now going over to the Blood one. After being healthy for 12 seconds, you get an overpower. And then this timer reduces by 2 seconds each time Blood Orbs heal or overheal you for 8,000 life. That sounds good. The problem is that one of these 2 skills makes Blood Orbs, supernatural Bloodlands, right? It does even make Blood Orbs, and it has a aspect to automatically consume Blood Orbs to make more Bloodlances. Killer. That perfect. It's working like, wow, that's the synergy. Then you have Blood Surge, which neither makes Blood Orbs nor has any way to actually consume Blood Orbs. And this one is making on every overpower Blood Orb. This one is not making on every overpower Blood Orb, right? I mean, they virtually do the same. This stacks up 5 times. This stacks up 6 times. You don't even need to be healthy for this one, right? For this one, you have to be healthy to get a stack of Paranormal Blood Surge. Yes. You don't have to be healthy. 6 stacks, you do have to be healthy. While this skill's a melee skill, kind of, to stay in range, correct? And then when you actually would be making any kind of Blood Orbs, with the Blood Wave, for example, I need to walk through that to get a proper cooldown reduction. And while I'm walking, I cannot physically essentially shoot out my Blood Surges. I would have to step forward to do Blood Surge. Huh? Where? When? That no sense. Thank you very much. Why is this so broken? And one final thing to notice about minions in our glyph department. We have the Golem glyph, which gives us 25% bonus damage to our Golem. Great. Actually love that. Well, then we have the Mage glyph, which gives us bonus damage to mages, and then minions gain 35% increased resistance to all elements. Why? Why? Why does the Golem get more and the mages not? Oh, and for the warriors, minions get bonus armor. They don't need armor. They don't need resistance. This is useless. It does not, absolutely not. There's a consideration maybe for Thorns minions, but let's be fair. Therefore, we should have a bonus glyph and not the warrior and the mage glyph. If the golem is multiplying upwards, the others should be as well. There's nonsense to have this still going on this way. All in all, I love the Necro this season. There's many good fun builds to be played. And if we iron out all these tiny things and kind of move this step by step forward, including new uniques and other shenanigans, I do believe Necromancer is in for a very good time. I'm not even talking about balancing out to other classes. Sure, I would like to have a belt slot because Barbarian has 3 bonus aspects, Rogue has 2 bonus aspects. I have nothing. I would like a belt slot or shoulder pads, or that I can always wield a 2-handed weapon and my focus goes on my belt. I don't care. It feels sad compared to the other classes. And yes, Druid and Sork feel the same. I am with you there, brothers and sisters. Now, what do you think? Drop it in the comments below about the Necro and how your experiences have been in Season 4 with the upcoming Season 5. And if you're now also looking for an absolutely incredible Necromancer build to just blast through the pit, enjoy, or rather a rogue who does the 101 in 2 minutes and below. Fantastic stuff. Check it out.